Making a video. Response video to the circumcision comments. Yeah, why not? I think it's important just because it illustrates that people just don't want to stay on the subject, and they always want to argue something else, and they certainly don't want to answer any questions, direct ones. So I just pose this in the beginning of this video. I'll just say, so let's suppose, so I appreciate answers from all these people that are anti-circumcision, what your perspective would be. So let's say there's a procedure, right, that you can do when a baby in the first week, and for, let's say, males, or for females too, just different areas, that it removes hair follicles. And there's a subtle positive benefit in terms of your skin stays younger longer, doesn't get old as fast, and let's say there's some protection against skin cancer. So it has some benefits that are beyond just the aesthetic ones, and beyond just the maintenance problem, let's call it. Finally. Yeah. The operation is almost complete. Anyway, it's 30 hours to do a frickin' copy of the hard drive. Anyway, gotta find a better way. Anyway, yeah. Yeah. So there's, and so yeah, but it's all or nothing, right? I mean, you either do it when the kid's young, or later in life. It's just not going to get done because it's going to mess up your skin. It's going to be expensive, and it's going to be painful to get rid of facial hair, let's say. So I would say that if I was having a kid, I would say that, just from my personal experience, I could say that, yeah, okay, now and then it's fun to play with facial hair, but generally speaking, no, it's just a big fucking pain in the ass. It'd be really nice not to have it. I would like it if somebody would have made the decision for me to say, yeah, let's go hairless, because it just doesn't serve any useful purpose. Pain in the ass. Well, pain in the face. So, but what? Because it's natural, you would be against it, making the decision? And again, the decision really has to be made. If you don't make the decision, it can't get done. So it either happens when they're young, or it doesn't happen at all. Alright, anyway. So this idiot. Alright, Blitzen Fever or something. You fucking clown. I love this. Everything's an acronym. Nobody can spell anything out anymore. Female genital mutilation, I assume, has its roots in ancient Sudan almost 3,000 years ago. Look, the point I was making is that the percentage of women on Earth who were genitally mutilated or circumcised or whatever you want to call it was a tiny, tiny, tiny number, and then it's been increasing as a number. So I would say that in like 1900, there was nobody was doing this shit. All right. So whether it has its roots somewhere, my argument is that it's not really anything like circumcision as a subject. The two subjects have absolutely nothing to do with each other. They have no similarities whatsoever. There is absolutely no sense that you have a reduced health risk, that you're increasing anything, that you're changing anything really functional when it comes to this whole female thing. It's a ritual more than it is a serviceable, sensible activity. So there's just nothing. The two things don't have anything in common with each other, really, except that it's genitals. But it's the two frickin' men and women's genitals don't have anything to do with each other. So you really can't call this the same thing. I mean, a man's nipples are not the same as a woman's breasts. You can't figure this shit out, asshole? And you're the asshole. Directly or indirectly related to everything from religious ceremony to magic spells. Yeah. A lot of stuff is based on that. But again, this is another context you little morons don't quite figure out. That all these rituals, generally speaking, had some kind of purpose. Because people were doing this shit to their own fucking kids, you retards. Okay? I mean, men 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago didn't get their kids circumcised because they hated their kids and they didn't want their kids to have fun having sex. That wasn't the purpose, retard. And I think you goddamn know it. I think if you think for 10 seconds, you can figure out that most of these stupid things had something to do with, some sort of cleanliness act or some other act that had some correlation to some benefit in life. Like you were going to live longer or live better or live healthier if you practice this activity. Shithead. Anyway, again, maybe take your own advice and shut the fuck up about things you know nothing about. Well, I don't think you know shit about any of this crap either. I don't think you were around 3,000 years ago. I don't think you know what the origin of it is. And quite obviously you don't understand the difference between a subject that involves maybe 1 billion people and a subject that involves 20,000 women on Earth. Yeah, you fucking asshole. Which, from what I can see, doesn't leave you many topics, imbecile. Yeah, well, fuck you. You demonstrate nothing here. So why don't you demonstrate how all the research demonstrating the increased cancer risk and the, more importantly, the venereal disease issue that comes with circumcision, okay, what they've demonstrated in Africa, what the World Health Organization basically calls it the cheapest way to fight or combat AIDS in Africa is to circumcise males. The most effective cure. Shithead. You asshole. Anyway, Equinox of fuckhead. Inmendham is brilliant in regards to the biggest questions. The subject is quite meaningless compared. Well, you see, it isn't meaningless. This is just another example of how this is about some kind of, for all you jackasses, this is just about some sort of baseball thing. Okay? I mean, you have certain notions in your fucking head and you're attached to them. And you're irrational. You're motherfucking irrational. I mean, this fucking defense of foreskin is fucking-rational. Okay, there's nothing about foreskin that deserves all you people coming to the rescue to save fucking foreskin. I mean, it is goddamn utility skin for fucking wild animals. It has nothing to do with civilized sexual practice in 2014. The subject is quite meaningless compared to others like ephilism, animal welfare rights, and the right to die, etc. This video is just evidence that the man isn't perfect. Yeah, well, again, that's not an argument. Where's your counter argument to the statistical fact that maybe even 1 million people, maybe millions of men are alive in Africa today because of circumcision? It saves lives. We can really make the argument now. But again, I don't want to make that argument. Alright? You're the people that are saying we have to somehow compare these things and somehow force somebody to say there's a benefit beyond the fact that it's really easy to fall on one side of the fence or the other side of the fence. It's really easy to do that. It's really easy to have an opinion. And it's not something that's one-sided. You're dumb. Noon's right about everything. Noon's, I guess that no one's right about everything. Yeah, well, and some people are wrong about a lot of things. And that would be you. I mean, you're wrong even having a name, Equinox of the Gods. You know, it's not going to win you any trophies in my book. Anyway, I'm not going to have enough time to get through all this, am I? No. So we have a half an hour on this camera. Anyway, not to break the spell, but it is, but it isn't solely done for those reasons alone, ritual and religion, and most likely began as a surgical procedure to cure the disadvantaging ailment. I don't know what that one was, but see, this is female genitalia. Female genitalia manipulation began in yeah. Well, I don't know if I want to bother with that. It's newsdiscovery.com. Yeah, I don't think so. This does not deflect the truth that it is most likely done today as a ritual procedure to profess a religious belief. Well, yeah, just to show dominance over women or whatever. Well, enough of that subject. The subject is circumcision, male circumcision. The subject isn't female circumcision. See, and so that's the point I'm illustrating here. There's nothing in my video whatsoever that had anything to do with female circumcision or female genital manipulation or mutilation. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with male circumcision. Foreskin. Women don't have foreskin. Ah, shit. If you can't understand that severing penis nerve endings is bad, then why should I believe anything else he says? I mean, that's just so stupid. So let's understand again what these nerve endings are for. They're irritable nerve endings. They exist not for sensual pleasure. They're not, you know, sensitive nerve endings in the sense of to necessarily be associated with anything erotic. What the fuck are you doing, cat? I see, everything's good. Interrupted. If you're going to start doing stuff, I'm going to have to get mad at you. Come on, get out of there. Yeah, gonna have to get kicked out if you're gonna go. You get fed. You have your food outside. Trying to get him out of the habit of thinking he's entitled. You know, cats will do that. You give them an inch, they'll just keep taking and taking. Yeah. I wish he would have just stayed out for the winter, but he's so much healthier, and so he stayed outside when he was dying, and now that he's all healthy again, now he has to come in. Go figure. Alright, so anyway, it was just kind of stupid to say, okay, if somebody was wrong on one subject, why would you think they could be right on any other subject? But again, let's understand, it's foreskin, it's a protective covering, right? It isn't a sexual device, it isn't enhancing in any other way. It likely only exists to protect the glands, and that's it. It's not really anything that necessarily needs to exist anymore, and we know from biology and science and all that kind of stuff that it just does collect a lot of bacteria, and much of it bad bacteria, and that it creates ulcers and other mechanisms that make transmission of disease easier, and so it just doesn't do anything really good. And again, just keep ignoring the argument. Like I said, the arguments have been made before, but I mean, your sexuality is something that happens inside your brain. Your brain can associate to almost any nerves in your body, and they can become sensual. So it's just stupid to think your foreskin is your penis. I think it's really stupid. But anyway, in this world, circumcision is really a big deal. I'll pull back from this one. Well, why'd you even comment then? Yeah, useless. I mean, I hate pussies like that too. Well, this subject doesn't interest me. Well, then why are you commenting even? Why'd you just go the fuck away? It's in the title. Just shut the fuck up. Yeah, fuck you. I mean, it's just so stupid. I used to think Inmendham was quite clever, but this video is a gross example of subjective stupidity. Well, again, you're not going to make a counter argument, are you? You're not going to say a single fucking thing to undo the facts that exist, are you? No, you're not. Clearly, he knows little about the subject. And what do you know about the subject? Not demonstrating any knowledge of the subject, not posting any information that discounts anything I've said on the subject. Why don't you post a link to the CDC's website, where they're basically conceding that, shit, circumcision is a cure for AIDS. Yeah. He even starts with the ridiculous logical fallacy of, oh, here we go. We have a logical fallacy. Appeal to tradition. Is that what I did? Where was there appeal to tradition? Where? I mean, that's just a lie. So you're a liar, fishy paw. You're a liar. There's no excuse for that. Where did I appeal to tradition? Where did I say it's a good idea because it's traditional? Where? Where did I say that? All I said was it's most traditional things aren't necessarily ignorant and archaic. All I did was defend the idea that sometimes we invented good ideas 1,000 years ago. Not every good idea showed up today. Some good ideas, like the wheel, have been around a long fucking time. That's all I did, jackass. Okay. Plus, for someone who is always going on about suffering, it's okay for a child to suffer if you do it young enough for them that they won't remember it. Yeah, it's okay to rip a fetus into a million little tiny penises. Pieces. Yeah, it's okay to do with nerve endings. They all have nerve endings. Ooh, all those fetus parts have nerve endings. Oh my! Oh, but it doesn't have a brain that works, so I guess it doesn't matter. Yeah, so is that where your argument's going to go? So are you anti-abortion? Alright, be consistent. Alright, please. If you don't think that a baby is getting horrifically brutalized by being crushed and shoved through a vagina. If you don't think that's a horrible thing to do to a fetus, if you think that is a horrible, if you think a circumcision is horrible, then you have to think vaginal birth is horrible. And then you have to go back to where's your limit? What month do you say the fetus is a person, and it's going to scream in horror, and it's going to actually consciously cognate a negative sensation, even though we know they're born completely immobile and useless, and they can't do a motherfucking thing. You think they feel. Okay. It would just be more evidence of my argument that nature's idiotic then, because what good is it giving feelings to things that can't move? They can't walk up and go away. Oh, that's right. No point in all. It's okay. Anyway. And who cares if they suffer loss of sensitivity, not to mention ugly, mutilated penis? Well, again, ugly is a matter of opinion. So if you're going to make that argument, though, I'm going to make the counter argument that Kinsey found that most women find circumcised more attractive. And then I could also make the argument of sensitivity that there's been absolutely no evidence of this insensitivity. None. No demonstrated evidence of insensitivity. None. Like with MRIs or something. Some demonstration of how a circumcised penis is less sensitive. That's just a wives' tale. Okay, that's urban legend. That's crap. Well, you're disappointed? No, I'm disappointed, fuckhead. Okay, you spill this puke on my goddamn video, and what am I else to say except I'm disappointed? No, I'm disgusted. Fuck you. You obnoxious, rude little prick. Little prick. And that's what this is about, is your little ugly prick. Anyway. Seems to me that the topic, like gun control, is not something that people in the U.S. find easy to talk about while remaining reasonable. Well, there you go. That's true. But I don't think you're a reasonable hoverbrother. So I'm betting this read more shit is going to be a big pile of crap out of your mouth. Yeah, here we go. Circumcision was adopted in the U.S. and Northern Europe in Victorian times for dubious health reasons. Again, you say they're dubious. I think, just by raw experience as a human being, I'm saying, no, I don't think. It's probably not that goddamn dubious that, extra bacteria stinks. Yeah, probably not that dubious. Once those reasons turned out to be absolute. Oh, it's absolute bollocks. Okay, so the CDC is full of absolute bollocks. The World Health Organization is full of absolute bollocks. All the new studies that have been done in Africa are absolute bollocks. Okay, no, you're full of shit. You're a fucking donkey ball. The practice was largely abandoned in Europe. Yeah, well, that's because, Europeans are lazy. Yeah, that's about all it comes down to. Europeans are chauvinistic, lazy assholes who couldn't give a rat's ass. They're not known for their cleanliness, so you're kind of just pushing them right over that edge, right? I mean, Europe is kind of thought of by Americans who have visited there as a real stink hole. You actually have canals that you go taking boat rides in that are full of duty. Alright? You're preposterously dirty, filthy people. So the fact that you gave up circumcision is no surprise, because you like to stink. It seems obvious. You're quite comfortable stinking and living in bed bugs. Living with them and on top of them. And feeding them like pets. That's why you had plagues over there. It's because you were filthy. You asked for it, asshole. Considered a waste of medical resources. Yeah, right now it's actually been declared by the some number of health organizations as the most cost-effective way to combat the spread of HIV in Africa is male circumcision. The most cost-effective way to combat AIDS. Male circumcision. If nothing else. Look, it was always known. Way back when I was a kid, okay, yeah, there was no statistics, no facts, no blah, blah, blah. But everybody had this idea, pretty clear, okay, that, yeah, you were more likely to get venereal diseases, okay, if you weren't circumcised. Alright, anyway, if nothing else, the marginal public health benefit found in recent years are interesting. Oh, well, you're saying they're marginal. It's a 50% less likely to spread a disease in your lifetime. You're 50% less likely. That's not a marginal. That's pretty 50 fucking percent cut in your capacity to do something like to have a car accident or something. If I could give you a 50% less chance of you having a car accident, you'd buy it, fucker, and you goddamn know it. It is interesting and deserves further investigation, but can't really be said to have anything to do with this tradition established itself. This tradition established itself. Well, you're saying it has nothing to do with it, but it clearly does have something to do with it. It goes back to Jewish traditions that are all about, all kinds of anal cleanliness things. All right, so there's one connection that's pretty clear. We can logically recognize that, yeah, people took less baths and showers back then, and so, yeah, it would probably be an advantage to be circumcised. So we can logically sort of see a connection. And then we can certainly see a connection in a world that became very, like in the 60s, very sexually promiscuous, that it might start to be observed by people that uncircumcised men were coming up pussy more often. Can't really be said to have anything to do with why this tradition established itself or its persistence in the U.S. and not elsewhere. Well, again, the not elsewhere thing just has to do with people being lazy assholes, and not much else. They don't do a lot of things in the rest of the world. They don't change their underwear. They don't do a lot of things. To do so smacks of looking for a problem to justify the solution. Looking for a problem. Again, it's foreskin. Alright? I mean, it's foreskin. It's skin on the outside of the penis that doesn't have any sensual function, sexual function, or any kind of other function but to get in the fucking way and to collect bacteria. It really doesn't do anything else. You're the one manufacturing excuses to retain some sort of naturalism. You probably like women with beards, right? Haha, ugly mutilated penis, you and you accuse Inmendham of subjectivity. Satire at its best. Bravo, yes, it was very funny. Oh, Equinox again. I hate these double commenters. Speaking of. The foreskin contains a fuck ton of nerves. Oh, a fuck ton of irritability nerves. So again, we could describe these nerves as, let's see, I'm trying to think of like the back of your hand or, some other place where there are a lot of nerves. Your teeth. There's a fuck ton of nerves in your teeth. Yeah, well, they give us so much pleasure, don't they? Yeah, they're just a constant source of pleasure. The nerves in your teeth. These are irritable. There's lots of nerves in probably the hair follicles of nose hair. Has anybody got a fetish for nose hair? There's probably a fuck ton, is that what he said? Yeah, a fuck ton of nerves, around our eyes to protect our eyes. Does anybody get this off on it sensually? No. It's extremely sensitive to touch, and I can't imagine how much it would suck to be without it. Well, I can't imagine how much of a bummer it would be to be fucking my own foreskin in intercourse, and I can't imagine what a bummer it would be to, the more you mess with your junk, gotta go clean my junk because I played with it a little bit, now it's all skanky. Yeah, I can't imagine what a pain in the ass that would be. I mean, every time I cop a feel, I gotta go wash up. Yeah, fuck you. More importantly, there's no medical evidence. No medical evidence is what this asshole says, right? He says this shit on my video. There's no medical evidence for a higher risk of disease caused by having foreskin. It's just idiotic. And the point is not that it's higher because of foreskin. No, it's lower because of circumcision. So again, you can't even say it right. But there's a fuck ton of evidence. A fuck ton, okay, of evidence in Africa. The men are like on waiting lists to get circumcised. Adult males. They're on waiting lists to get circumcised. Jesus. Sounds like ancient propaganda to me. Well, that's because you're just ignorant and a liar and a propagandist for your own agenda of, you know, ugly penis, and you just want everybody else to have an ugly penis. Yeah, okay. The U.S. is about the only civilized country still circumcising. Yeah, well, the U.S. is the only country still doing a lot of things. And some of them are better than these other jerky countries. It's true. And I'm not seeing the numbers of venereal disease or cancer reflected when compared to Europe. Well, then you're probably not looking very hard. Right? That's probably the truth of it, right? Do you know the numbers? I don't think you do. Yeah, I don't think you do. The procedure is unnecessary, and therefore imposing unnecessarily physical change on the child is unethical. Yeah, and again, if it's proven to your satisfaction, all right, that there's a clear correlation between foreskin and the incidence of transmission of venereal disease. Okay, not only you're catching it, but you're giving it to women. You're more likely to be able to give it to somebody because of not being circumcised. You're a spreader, more likely to spread it. If that's proven to your satisfaction, then is the argument over? I mean, what evidence, or are you still going to argue that it's natural or something? It sounds to me like you don't care about what the evidence says. You just care about defending your own personal thing. And that's it. By making bizarre accusations that somehow it's inefficient to be circumcised. That it's somehow a deficiency when you don't have any testimony from people circumcised claiming that. You're certainly not going to hear it from this guy. Alright. Hover Blever. So, let's see, I guess he has a comment in here. I wish I read your comment 15 minutes ago. I don't know why. His comment is shit. I think the idea was that circumcision would stop, reduce masturbation. Again, yeah, well, that's how dumb you are, Hover Blever. You're that big an idiot. You actually think somebody would have a kid, a male. This is, look, all religious traditions were probably invented and maintained by men. So you really think that men had sons, and they wished on their sons a dissatisfactory sexual life? Yeah, right. Sure they did. They thought circumcision ruined them so badly, and they just wanted to ruin their kids' sexual life. That's what you think. You really believe that. You really believe the religious assholes, even if 2,000 years ago, were really religious, that they really believed in God? You really think so? No, they were as big a fake and a fraud as they are now. Okay, and they're doing just as many hookers back then as they're doing now. So you're so full of shit. You just made this shit up. Like eating cornflakes would, silly sods, like eating cornflakes would. I think the idea would stop masturbation. Cornflakes. I don't know what it has to do with cornflakes, but you're retarded. And you're an asshole. And you're not funny. Perhaps the idea was to reduce sexual pleasure in general. Well, again, yes, so men came up with an idea, imposed it on their sons to reduce their sons' sexual pleasure. I mean, you know, fuck. I just can't imagine how does your brain even construct that idea? I mean, really. I mean, even Adolf Hitler wouldn't do that to his kids. Which I could imagine it probably does to an extent. Well, you can imagine, but you're wrong. Again, let's have somebody just ought to pay to have the contest, and we'll just take 1,000 circumcised men, 1,000 uncircumcised men. Let's see who the fuck can do the job the quickest, who can get it done right and get it done better. All right? Because just noticing these flabby skinners, okay, and their basic character. Yeah, I think more. I think it's all kind of a limp. Their argument is limp, and I think there's more limpiness going on. Anyway, which I can imagine it probably does to an extent. It's funny how godlessness in the monotheistic sense has often been bound up with neurotic. So whatever, I'm not going to read all this shit. I mean, just read more, but why would I bother with that? What did I say? Pathological ideas about sex, sexual pleasure, and sensuality. Well, again, so he's making some sort of idiotic notion, right? That men invented circumcision to ruin the sex life for their sons. Yeah, sure they did. The health argument is certainly a red herring, as someone said above. It's a red herring. Okay, then explain. So why aren't you editorializing about how the CDC is out of control and the World Health Organization is out of control and all these other people saying all this shit about what's going on in Africa right now are out of control? Oh, that's right, because you would look like an idiot. As someone said above, if being uncircumcised was such a health issue, you'd expect significantly more cases of penile disease and cancer in Europe than in America. And again, do you have those statistics? I don't. No, in the majority of cases, it's just an excuse. Again, says you. It is still being done by default in the U.S. Well, it's not being done by default. It's people are asked, they sign up for it, they have to pay for it. It's often not covered by insurance anymore. So I think that's kind of a silly thing to say. I suggest due to cranky pseudo-moral reasons. So yeah, well again, these are men doing it to their own children. I don't buy the argument. I think it's a silly argument. Absolutely preposterous argument. I don't know. I guess societies have always developed taboos and restrictions around reproduction for obvious reasons, and that some of those traditions... This isn't about reproduction, you retard. It's about sex. Oh, you still haven't figured that out. Live longer after they cease to serve their intended function. Well, again, I don't know what the intended function... What was the intended function again? Oh, that's right, because it was cleaner. Yeah. Like not eating pigs. Pig. As far as Christian West adopting circumcision relatively recently, my best guess would be that the main driver of the moral panic of the Victorians was the perceived and actual loss of control following the upheaval of the Industrial Revolution. No, it was probably the idea that they figured out that, yeah, women, you're more likely to get laid.